Okay, hello guys, and welcome. Welcome to how to scale any business to from 6 to 7 figures without losing your money or your mind. I'm Dan Bradbury. We're going to get into a lot of stuff in this webinar. A lot of things. I'm going to go at quite a pace because there's a lot to cover. It's an informational webinar, lots of tips, but it's also live. So feel free to ask questions as we go because this is new. I might not explain some things as well as I could. Just pipe up and tell me and I will respond to you, probably live in the webinar or failing that at the end, and answer your questions as best I can. So you should all be able to see me and see my screen. So let's get cracking. So in this webinar, you're going to discover a model that I use or use to scale one of my businesses from scratch to over 3 million in less than 2 years. Now, actually, that's a little bit misleading because actually, as we're going to talk about, while I did start this particular business that I'll use as the case study in this webinar from scratch, actually, it got to 500,000 in revenue pretty darn quickly, but then it plateaued. It plateaued there for some time before I then implemented the steps that we're going to discuss on this webinar to have significant growth. And I'm going to say an opening concept which might surprise you, and that is, it's easier to run a company at 5 million in revenue than it is 500,000. It's much easier because a business is generally bigger, it's more stable, it's got better staff, it's got better systems, it's got better infrastructure, right? So it's easier to run a bigger company. The tricky part is overcoming the obstacles to get you from that 500,000 stage. You've got a business model that works and customers give you money. You're no longer a startup, but you're not yet a fully fledged business. You know, at that size, at the kind of mid six-figure range, low to high mid six-figure range, the business is dependent upon the owner in most cases, and that keeps you stuck from going to the next level. So, quick introduction, in case you don't know me. I'm relatively renowned for being the UK's highest paid business coach. You may have read my book. If not, please check it out on Amazon, Breeding Gazelles, Fast Growth Strategies for Your Business. For my entrepreneurial career, whilst I teach a lot of businesses, actually my primary income stream is from the businesses that I own but do not run. So here in this business, that I'm speaking to you from today, Dan Murray Limited, that's kind of my coaching consulting business. And we have mastermind and group coaching programs. But what most people don't know until I tell them is actually it's not my primary revenue source. In fact, last year, whilst I enjoy teaching other business owners, this business, even though it's some people would say of significant size and very profitable, it wasn't even in my top 5 income sources. And the reason why I tell you that is everything here in this webinar is tried and tested about how to scale businesses that aren't dependent upon you. So here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about strategy, how you stand out in the marketplace. We're going to talk about how to build a team so the business isn't dependent upon you, and how to avoid a lot of the things that you're probably already feeling. Burnout, poor hires, cash flow shortages, which are inherent when you're trying to not just own any business, but when you're trying to grow a business. The reason why most business, the exact stat is later on in this webinar, but the reason why only a fraction of a percentage of businesses within the first 5 to 10 years produce more than 7 figures in revenue is ultimately boils down to the business owner burns out. Right, or they get sick of making bad hires, so they give up and stay small, or they're trying to invest for growth, but they don't have the cash flow to do it. We're going to talk about that and how to fix that. So here's the stat: business failure rates. You've heard this, different sources, but basically within 10 years, 94% of businesses have failed, and less than 6% of the remaining 6%. Less than a tenth of those get to over 1 million, i.e. 0.6% of businesses reach 1 million in revenues in their first 10 years. That's crazy. And there's a few core obstacles that get in the way of that, from my experience. Oh, my my dashboard is just flagged up. Let's make sure I've not done anything inadvertently. Hopefully you guys can still see my screen. Please ask me a question or raise a hand if you've got lost. So, to paraphrase Einstein, the level of thinking that got you to where you are today won't get you to the next level. In fact, it's going to inhibit it. In other words, let's use an analogy, or a direct analogy. Most business owners, they have to be hands-on when the business is created, right? Because they don't have the systems, they don't have the product, they don't have the staff. They've got to get in there in most cases and do all that themselves, right? So they have to be ruthless at execution and getting cracking and trying ideas. However, to get to the next stage of growth, so to go from being a baby business to being a teenager business, you know, as you generally speaking, to cross that from mid six figures to low seven figure revenues, you have to hire and leverage staff so that the business is less dependent upon you, which means you generally have to let go of control. Whereas if you weren't a control freak, a little bit of one at least, in the early stages, the business would not have survived. So that's why a lot of businesses get stuck, because the skills that got you to that first $500,000 in revenue are the very same things that are inhibiting getting to 1 to 2 million, for example. And we're going to talk about how to fix that. So this is why this is vital to you now. Many of the business solutions that you've heard about are wrong. You know, there's a lot of people out there teaching a lot of good ideas, which are good in theory, but in practice, the marketplace is always moving. You know, there's more competition than ever before. You know, there's more uncertainty in the world because of the rate and speed of change. Right? Most businesses don't last very long. And if you haven't got a proven growth plan, you know, you're heading for disaster, right? Or another way of thinking about this is, I've noticed, I'll come back to it later, Paul. I can't go back to it now because I've got a lot of slides and not much time. But the short version was 94% of businesses get to less than $1 million in revenue. 94% of businesses fail within 10 years, and of the remaining 6%, less than 0.6% of the total get to 7 figures in revenue. Okay. Businesses, when they succeed, generally, they think they know what they're doing. When businesses go wrong, people always have an excuse. To paraphrase Bill Gates, the problem with success is it lures smart people into thinking they know what they're doing. And a lot of business owners, they get the early modest success and they think it's because they're so ingenious, when actually they might have just got lucky. They might be in the right industry at the right time, and therefore the business isn't very stable for long-term growth. Okay, is this webinar for you? Really, this is aimed at people that are doing multiple six figures in revenue. They're looking to grow a company so that it can be stable without you. But really, just for clarity, I'm not making these people bad or wrong. This isn't about how to radically increase your sales in the next 30 days or 90 days or making a big hit of cash. This isn't get rich quick. This is about building sustainable wealth, right? I think most business owners, one of the motives for them getting into business is because they want to build real wealth for themselves, but actually very few accomplish that goal. And that requires a long-term focus rather than a short-term focus. So even though some of the things we're going to talk about in this webinar, you can apply immediately and you may see rewards quickly, really all of this is done with a longer-term vision. You know, it's over a year or multi-year period that you really see the rewards. That's the mindset you need to come into this webinar with. If you're looking for the next magic pill to make you an extra 100 grand next month, this isn't going to be right for you. Okay, that's not my approach to business. That's not how I view the world. House rules. Look, I've already said this. It's not about startup hustle. It's not about simple, quick, easy fixes. I am in favor, by the way. Sometimes businesses can see radical growth in profitability from the implement of a few small disciplines. So one of the businesses that's in our mastermind program had high six-figure revenues, about 900,000 when they joined us, and a year later, and they had about 100,000 in profit on that 900,000 in revenue. A year later, their profits had increased to 460,000. Now, I will show you in this webinar exactly what we did to accomplish that, and it's very simple. However, that can be misleading, to go, oh, well, you can quadruple or 5x your profits in a year. That's not realistic for a lot of businesses. However, the reason why this business could do it is they had a lot of fundamentals right. They were doing a lot of things the right way. There were just a few little things that were wrong that they weren't sure how to fix. We were able to show them how to fix them, and because they implemented them, in effect, it felt like, it was an easy way to 4 or 5x my profit. And that's true. But the reason why that's different from get rich quick is get rich quick people normally have a crappy product, no team, no capital to invest, no good marketing, no infrastructure, right? And you need the foundations to be in place. Okay? So having said all that, this isn't theory. This is all done by myself, tried and tested. I'll tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Look, I will use a few case studies and share a few stories like the one that I just mentioned in brief then. We'll come into more depth later. I'm not trying to pretend that if you apply what I do on this webinar, it will guarantee it's going to work for you. Well, just use common sense, right? Just use common sense. There's a lot of... if business was simple, if it was simple to get rich, everybody would do it. The devil's always in the detail, unfortunately, because I'm not naturally a detail-focused person. But ultimately, you need to take action. Most people won't take action, and they're most likely going to go broke. Right? I don't say that to be for dramatic effect. Well, maybe a little bit for dramatic effect. The fact is, most businesses fail because the business owner fails to anticipate a risk, and they think they know what they're doing, and they don't. And that's why their business goes broke. Or if they don't go broke, even worse than going broke is they meander along for years. I was chatting to a business owner yesterday who ran a business for 10 years. And of course, he expected to be making money in year one. It took him 8 years before he broke even. And that's just miserable. Miserable. Right? And he did a lot of things right, but he did a few things wrong, and that messed everything up. So... I'll give examples about learning from my story. First business left me with a big chunk of debt. The next two businesses that I had both plateaued. It says 600,000 to 700,000. It's actually between 500,000 and 800,000 in revenue. I couldn't break through that mid six-figure level. Okay, and I'm going to talk about what I did that made a difference. Okay, basically, how I would categorize myself back then, 10 years ago, was I was good at selling, marketing, and just cracking on with it. But whenever I tried to scale past that level, I failed. Right? And ultimately, I was trying to take lots of action. I read the books. I did what people told me to do. But ultimately, I started to... I made the mistake of thinking I knew what I was talking about. Right? But ultimately, I felt I was successful in others' eyes, but not in my own. Because I had a job. I mean, I had a high-paying job, right? But ultimately, it was a job. I was enslaved to my business. I was making more money than all my friends in my kind of early 20s were making. I was making a six-figure income, which isn't to be sniffed at. And by the way, no disrespect to people that are happy in six-figure jobs. But the fact was, I felt like I wasn't getting what I really wanted. And I actually thought, you know what, do I just give up trying to progress and just be happy with a six-figure job in my own company, but it was still just a six-figure job. And ultimately, I made £1 million decision. And I paid a lot of money. I invested heavily in my own growth to hang out with people who've done things right, whether it be Keith Cunningham, Ryan Dice, Jay Abraham, Dan Sullivan, Clayton Mask, etc. So people that had bought, sold lots of companies. I have net worths, companies that are doing 100 million plus in revenue, people that have got net worths in excess of 100 million, people that have made loads, lost it all, made it again. And really, those patterns and habits, I'd assumed it was learning better marketing, because that's what had gotten me to $500,000. Really good marketing is what allowed me to differentiate, sell more of my products, and get to $500,000 in revenue. And I was ignoring a whole host of different skill sets that are required to help you transcend the gap. And there were 5 key factors that turned it around, right? So I'm going to share with you these 5 key principles. And I know this can work for any business, because that's what this business does. We have mastermind and group coaching programs to help people make the shift. Okay, so for example, Alexis from Spider Gap, he grew his profits over 27-fold. So this was a low-ish, 6-figure business, but it was profitable, and he radically transformed the level of profitability. Ironically, with less staff, still got staff in a business that he's only spends a day and a half in a week at the moment, because he has other businesses as well. But he's only able to develop those other businesses because he was able to make this company relatively self-sufficient. Again, I'm not going to tell you the BS like you can magically make it so you never have to look at your company again, but you can figure out how to leverage it. Okay, people like Ed Challoner, who runs a very successful dental practice in Liverpool called SmileWorks, and he quadrupled his profits without any increase in revenue. Something he would have told you before was impossible to do. Okay, so here are the 5 steps to scaling. All right, 5 key parts. Number 1, support. There has to be an infrastructure to support the other 4 steps of scaling. Scorecards, i.e. having the right metrics, having the right financials, etc. Staff, having the right team. Systems, having the right processes run throughout the business so it can be replicable and operate efficiently without you. And ultimately underlying all that is strategy. You can't do it with one of these 5 things and everyone is looking for the magic bullet. The reality is all 5 of these need constant evolution and development. All right, so let's dive into details step by step now, because chances are there is one of these or 2 of these areas which is hurting you right now, and you can pick up a few little nuggets which will help you improve that area. Just know that. Let's say you've got a staff issue, and we'll talk about that in a moment, and you manage to fix that. Well, great. When you fix that, another of the areas is going to become weak. Right? Think of it this way. You need to upgrade consistently in all 5 areas to maintain progress and growth of profitability in your business. So let's get to it. Get pen and paper ready. We're going to go through a variety of things that you can practically hands-on use. Let's start with strategy. I love this quote from Mike Tyson. It's in my book, Breeding Gazelles, as well. Everybody has a game plan until they get punched in the face. Well, everybody has good ideas about what they think needs to happen for their business to work, but the reality is stuff happens. Staff leave unexpectedly. You get sued. You get a VAT inspection. You get a tax audit. You get banned from advertising on Facebook if that's your main advertising stream, right? How do you make your strategy more robust? It's every business owner. If you ask them if they want to make more profit, they're going to say yes. Why? Who, all the things being equal, is not going to want to make more profit? But the reality is people fall in love with the effect and not with the cause. In other words, people say, I want to lose weight, but they're not prepared to do what needs to be done in order to lose weight, which is exercise appropriately and have the right diet, right? And watch their diet. But said even more succinctly, they could probably lose weight more efficiently if they exercise using the right strategy and ate using the right strategy, right? So people that say that they want it, but they're not committed to doing the causes, i.e. if the effect is missing, whether it be lack of profit or not being at the weight you want, so is the cause. Okay, i.e. you're not eating right, exercising right, or you're not running your company the right way. And I call that false ambition, right? A key, I think, is asking higher quality questions. Most small business owners, because they've been used to doing it all themselves, they think like an employee, even if that's an MD. They're going, oh, how am I going to get more sales this month? How can I have How can I do better marketing online? Right? A better question might be, if you're a shareholder, i.e. you're non-operational, you're going, oh, it's not how do I do this? That's not the right question. The question is, who do I need to hire that can radically improve my marketing strategy? Right? At the end of the day, for a lot of you listening right now, you are the employee and the shareholder. i.e. you're running the business. The key person running the business operation, but you're also the shareholder. And that's okay. In this business right now, I'm the MD and I'm also the shareholder. Okay. But let's not murky the water. In your business, you can hire somebody probably to do your job, but it's the shareholders who get the reward. Really, that's where the real wealth is created. And normally, whilst little tactics are sometimes appropriate, especially if the business is so small or it's got some kind of crisis on its hand, you need to know how to stop you from running out the cash, or how to avoid being losing a small court claims case that has been put against you. That can be appropriate, but actually, for really strategic running a proper business, that's shareholder thinking. And it's different questions, okay? Got to ask yourself, think bigger, right? I.e., how do you better use the resources that you've got? I said it before, that it's easier to run a £5 million company than $500,000. Trust me, from experience. But you can get 10x without 10x the effort, but what prevents people from doing it is they don't have the right skills. They don't have the right breakthrough in strategy or in mindset. Okay? So here's a starter for 10. What's the purpose of your business? Right? What's the real driver behind you? And what's the mission? What's, as Jim Collins would say, the big, hairy, audacious goal? Okay? Why is this important? Because, by the way, some of you are listening right now going, oh, I've got that and it's important. Great. And I'm going to tell you other steps that we're going to talk about are going to be more critical for you. Those that are the most dismissive of this step are probably the ones that need it most. Here's why this is important. Clarifying your business purpose and mission. A vibrant purpose and mission attracts top talent to your team. Believe it or not, your employees are probably not super motivated just to make you 10 times more money. They're not motivated by that. So having a clear vision about where you're going and the positive impact the business is trying to create in the world will be much more motivating and invigorating, and drive a higher performance from your team and attract better quality players to your team in the first place. Okay? Greatness isn't an accident. How could you engineer it? Okay? How do you make your business so good by its positioning and more perceived value? It's not about beating the competition, it's just becoming the market leader. How do you innovate and constantly improve? And that's a combination of expanding strengths and minimizing your risks. Let me emphasize this. If you're naturally thinking about how do we grow, chances are, the reason why I said I'm not interested in the short-term winners, you could do things to increase your profitability short-term that would be unsustainable long-term. Right? You could probably cut costs, but cut costs now to cut quality, and then you have a higher margin of your product or service. But long-term, it'd probably be detrimental. So said differently, a lot of business owners come and talk with us when they're looking to grow. And ironically, to have faster growth, you need to go slower. Initially, in some cases, because the foundations need to be in place. I.e., if the risks aren't mitigated, a business that's trying to grow on shaky foundations will fall over. It's only a matter of time. So think about it this way. Protect, nurture, grow. I know you want more than what you've got. The reason why you're on this webinar is you seek the next level of growth because you've got, there's something that you don't have yet that you want. And therefore there's a level of dissatisfaction with what you have. And that's okay. But the mistake a lot of people make is they try and grow without first protecting what they've got. Okay, so how do you protect your existing customers, build deeper relationships? How do you protect the assets and the wealth that you've already built up, etc.? And then once you've really got the business is not got any big gaping holes which could screw it up, said a different way, very few business owners go into a year expecting to lose money. But over the course of a 5-year span, the vast majority of businesses have at least 1 year where they lose money. Why? Because there was some unforeseen risk they didn't protect against. And it takes them 2 years to get back on track. How do you protect? Then how do you nurture the business? So not radically, oh, your business is making progress. Oh, I know, let's radically upend everything, right? How do we just improve things systematically to make progress? And then growth might be bigger picture strategies or more industry disruptive type ideas. All right, so next, staff. Oh, I like this quote from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Talent instantly recognizes talent. The best way to make an A player a B or a C player is to put them in a team full of B or C players. So what does that mean, right? I think that most businesses do not invest sufficiently in top talent. Just been distracted by a question. Jay said people are having problems with the sound breaking up. If that's the case, guys, if a lot of you are having problems with the sound, let me know and I will disconnect from the audio on the computer and I'll dial in on the telephone, which might give you better quality. But if it's just one person, it might be the internet connection at your end, Jay. Yeah, people say it's okay, Jay. So unfortunately, I suspect it's at your end. So Jay, it might be an internet connection thing, unfortunately. So big thinking and fast growth requires investing in top talent. Okay, good. So think about it this way: you can't and won't do it alone. What does that mean? All right, you've got to have. Someone argue the most important skill is to be able to recruit and create a high-performing team. Make sure that you check references. Make sure that you hire the top leaders and managers first. Define their role. Create a good culture. I'll be more precise later. And really look for competencies and culture fit. So my most successful private client built his business from a startup or like low 7-figure revenues all the way up to right now they're about 70-80 million pounds worth of revenue annually. Okay, he's done a great job, and he says if you ask him, great, what's the most important thing you need as a MD, as a CEO, and he would say hire, training, and firing to the core values of the company. Said differently, you need to know what the company's about and hire people that fit in with that culturally. Why? Because his attitude is you can always train skills. But if the personality isn't a good fit, it causes more problems than it helps. So, I forgot about this slide. Right, so what does that look like? I'm always looking out for top talent. I'm always checking references. I think you should be very slow to hire, very quick to hire. Chances are, if you're listening to this right now and you've got a team of more than 4 or 5 people, there's one person in your organization that you know needs to be let go of, but you haven't because you're fearful of what it might mean. You're fearful of finding a replacement. You don't have a replacement, and therefore you're tolerating shitty performance that's damaging your business and your profitability because you're willing to tolerate how they're showing up. Okay, so I think that this is something to be ever vigilant about. Okay, ever vigilant about. By the way, side note. Oh, actually, let me do the last slide. I think you need to dedicate time to locating and nurturing talents. Do a review. How can you coach them, right? How can you coach them? How can they be developed? But actually, who is the most important employee at your company? If you're still operational, I would say the most important employee is you. Are you enhancing your skills? Right? Because ultimately, if you're not leading well, that's the leverage point. How do you develop your business skills? For me, that's the number one place for investment first, but I'm also a fan of investing and consistently developing skills of my team for long-term growth. And it might be that you need additional hires as well, because you just do not have the skill and it would take so long to train it, you could hire it much more cheaply. All right, next S, scorecards. I love Peter Drucker. The Effective Executive is one of my favorite books. What gets measured gets improved. I think you need to measure things. Okay, I know it's budget, it's got lots of numbers in it. I think you need to measure things. Right? Warren Buffett, if you can't read the scoreboard, you don't know the score. I think most business owners complete this well-known phrase. In fact, join in with me now because I'm talking to myself. Charles, pay attention. Charlie, pay attention. Donald, pay attention. Emma, pay attention. Complete this well-known phrase for me and type it in the questions box. Turnover is vanity. Profit is... Right. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Philippa. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Jacqueline. Profit is sanity. There's actually a third part of this quote. Turnover is vanity. Profit is sanity. What is king? What is king? That's right. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Paul. Cash is king, not sales, Kevin. Cash is king. Right? And most people don't even understand the difference. So the way that it shows up is a lot of business owners come in saying, I want to grow sales, because they falsely believe that more sales must mean more profit. And just for the record, I'm not against more sales. Right? If you've got no sales, you cannot have profit. Okay? So at some point, you need more sales. However, most businesses, there's a difference between how effective you are at driving sales, how efficient you are at turning sales into profit, and how productive you are at turning those profits into positive operating cash flow. They're different skill sets. Most people don't even understand what they mean, what they are. But what I know is, if I can look at your numbers, if I'm looking at monthly management accounts, I can tell you exactly where the problems are in your business. Okay? Because the numbers are a feedback tool on strategy. So sometimes business owners come in and go, oh yeah, I want to do this strategy. Why? Because they think that somehow that's going to equal more money in their pocket. And yet they execute a strategy only to, a year later or 3 months later to go, is it working? Right? For example, I believe prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. In other words, people go, oh, I'm going to do this thing and it's going to work. Well, let's say your profit is down this year versus last year. What's the cause of that loss of profit? And you'll probably have an answer, but it's often not what you think. In medical terms, they call this referred pain. I've got pain in my elbow. Oh, what do I need to do? Oh, I'm going to put some ibuprofen gel on my elbow. Okay, yeah, great. Well, actually, that's referred pain. So what's causing the pain in the elbow might be a nerve impingement in my neck. Right? If any of you guys play sport and have been to physios, you've heard this, where they're like, oh, you got tennis elbow, it's in your neck. Or, oh, the reason you keep pulling your hamstring is because your hips are tight. Or something like that. And yet a lot of business owners assume what the problem is and that this strategy is or isn't working, and actually they're mistaken. And then they stop doing the thing that was helping them. So, for example, they implement a strategy and the profit goes down. They go, that doesn't work. When actually, if they had better analysis of the numbers, they might see their strategy did work. It was something else that was causing the problem. And actually, if they hadn't done that strategy, they'd be in an even worse position. Right? Let me tell you an example. A business that I came across that was selling a particular type of product, and they had wholesale and retail sales. And they thought they were making money on both, but proper analysis basically demonstrated they were losing money on wholesale. Right? So 2/3 of their revenue was wholesale revenue. But for every widget that they sold, they were literally losing money. So the fact that overall the business was negligibly profitable, actually the retail was making loads of money. So in other words, they could have done 2/3 less work and made, I don't remember the exact amount, 5 times more profit. And that was obvious once they looked at the numbers, but they didn't know how to read the numbers. You need to be financially literate. And if you're abdicating on, oh, well, that's for accountants to do. No, it's not. Accountants will submit your accounts, prepare your accounts, but they don't know your business. The purpose of the scorecards is to give you feedback on how you can manage your business better. The accountant's never going to do that because they might understand what the numbers are saying, but they don't understand your business model and how it works, how it operates. So they are unable to correctly identify what strategy, what actions you should implement as a result of that feedback. Right? And even if they could, does your accountant really care more about your money than you do? I don't think so. I don't think so. So, people don't understand that there's 3 scorecards, right? One is a balance sheet, one is a P&L or income statements, and one is a statement of cash flow, okay? These are completely different. To say one is more important than another is like most business owners conceptually understand the P&L, even though they go, oh, let's make more sales and that'll make more profit. Wrong. But even if they understand that one, most business owners have little or no understanding of the other 2, of how to read it, how to interpret it, what it represents, what it means. And to say a P&L is more important than a balance sheet is a bit like saying, from a health perspective, as long as my heart keeps beating, I'm fine. Well, great. If your heart beats your P&L, your lung function is your balance sheet. So if your lungs stop functioning, how long is your heart going to beat for? Right? And the statement of cash flow, well, that's like brain function. Great. How healthy are you if your heart's beating, your lungs are functioning, but you are literally brain dead? Or, I don't know, some other major system, your central nervous system shuts down. It's only a matter of time. All 3 are critical. Most business owners don't even look at them. Right? Well, they don't even have them. And even those who do don't even look at them. And those who look at them don't even understand what they mean. Okay? You need to understand the dynamic. A business is an asset. The purpose of investing in an asset is to drive sales, and the purpose of driving sales is to drive profit, and then you've got to convert that profit into cash flow. You can look at these in ratios. I learned this from Keith Cunningham, who's a long-term mentor of mine. Effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. But these are different skill sets. You've got to strategically use the scorecards and look for trends. That gives you feedback about what to do. Let me say it very bluntly. Assuming the business has good fundamentals, and by that I mean, like, let's say it's a good product, they genuinely care about the customers, they've got a reasonably good team. My experience as an investor, I look for businesses which have got most of the fundamentals in place, where I can find small little tweaks via analyzing the financials that allow me to double or treble profitability. Let me use this example, okay? At the moment, I'm assessing purchasing a day spa, okay, near to where I live. I'm assessing it, right? I'll do round numbers, and if you don't have to follow this precisely, and I don't have a slide for this, but it'll illustrate the point well. This business has about $500,000 in revenue. It has about $100,000 in annual profits. Okay, profitable business. The valuation for that business is £300,000. Okay, but I believe that I can almost double profitability. How does this work? Well, if they've got $100,000 in profit and they've got $500,000 in revenue, how much are their expenses? Okay, last year they were about £400,000. Okay, good. For a quick assessment, because this business operates without a budget and not really strictly management, I'm going to tell you right now that this business is overspending. Normally, from experience, I find if people aren't doing it, it's about 10%, but this business is much more wasteful than that. I'm going to tell you that there's about 20% increase, savings that can be made. Okay, good, of those expenses. All right, good. Well, 20% of 400,000 is £80,000 a year, right? Add that to the 100,000 in profit they already got. They've got profits of 180. and there's a few little tax tweaks which will make the business more efficient. So ergo, for simplicity's sake, let's just say I'm reasonably confident that in the first year I could produce 200,000 in profit that the current business owner who's selling is unable to get. Okay, good. Now think about this. If I have a business that has a 3 times multiple, i.e. it's got 100,000 in profit and it's worth £300,000. I'll do it the slightly more complicated way to illustrate the point, right? I'm not going to buy this business in cash because why would I if I can borrow money at 5%? I'm going to have to put down 20% deposit if I do this deal. So I'm going to have to put down 60 grand of my own money. Okay, good. So I'm going to borrow 240 from the bank. However, at the end of year 1, what's happened? If I have 200,000 in profit, I can take my original 60 back out. So I've got no money in the deal. And I've still got £140,000 in profit left over. If I pay that against the debt, I've paid off £140,000 worth of the bank loan. I've only got 100,000 left. So 6 months into year 2, I had to use that 100,000 to pay off the last 100,000 of debt. I now own a business, free and clear, that I do not even operate, that is producing £16,000 a month of profit. Right? And by the way, that's why I'm an investor and why I buy businesses, but you can apply the same thing to your own business. How do you leverage it and remove yourself from the business so you're not an employee with a high-paying job? Actually, you're getting the profits. And the way that I do that is by understanding the financials. That's one of the main thrusts of our ongoing mastermind programs, is to understand these numbers and how it works. Okay? We teach you stuff in deep depth. But there's lots of other pieces we can look as well, right? Systems run the business, people run the systems. You need to have good systems. So think about the wealth machine. There's many different cogs. There's sales, there's marketing, there's HR, finance, etc. How do you make these systems more efficient? Okay? Well, you can tweak the system and you can have the right people on the bus. How can you set yourself free? Well, I'm going to say something that's extraordinarily simple. And you may have even heard a version of this before. But if I ask you how many hours you worked last week, actually, you tell me, how many hours did you work last week? Harley, Jill, Jay, Lawrence, how many hours? All right, Oliver's 50, Paul 50, Kevin's 60, Arthur's too many, 50. Okay, good, 45, right? So the most common answer that I get is 60, but whatever it is for you, right? So that's question number 1. Question number 2, okay? If I was to ask you, what percentage of that time was spent focused on the most important activities? So if you looked at all the things you do in your business, there's a few activities, 2 or 3, that are much more important than all the other activities, i.e. Pareto principle. Certain tasks are much higher value. How much time did you spend on the most critical activities? Great. So 10%, 15%, 20%, right? Good. Oh, one person said 8%. Good for you. Okay, not enough, right? Yeah, good. So the most common answer I get is like 10 to 15%. So if you think about that logically, I'm working 60 hours and only 10% of my time, 6 hours of my week spent being epically productive. You want to transform the impact in your company? Use your time better. How would you do that? Here's like a very simple exercise. Compile a list of all the activities you do, sort them into A, B, and C. £1,000 tasks, i.e. the top high value ones, £100 tasks, and £10 tasks. And first of all, let me give you a caveat that's a critical distinction. And Alex, I'm making a note to one of my team members, we should put this in the slides. If you went down and did this list and sorted it into 3, like labelled each activity £1,000, £100 or £10, unconsciously, and by the way, that £1,000, £100, £10 idea came from a guy that I know, a coach who's brilliant. I love him. I've used him a lot, called Chris Hughes. I want to give credit. Wasn't my idea. Is that you'll try and put most of your tasks to £1,000 tasks. If I said proportionally of all the activities you do, it's probably 10% of the activities. So you can only put 3 or 4 separate activities on the £1,000 list. So i.e. 80% plus of all the activities that you do have to be £100 or £10 tasks. If you then went through it, and we've got a particular system we call the EAT system, Eliminate, Automate, Delegate system, i.e. you went through those £100 and £10 tasks and figured out what you could eliminate. If you couldn't eliminate it, can you automate it? And if you can't automate it, can you delegate it to somebody else or outsource it? The fact is your bottom line profitability would be magnified beyond belief. Magnified beyond belief. Because the vast majority of people that answer the question aren't being optimal with their time. Right? Now let's talk about support. Right? Ultimately, the people that you associate with and the books that you read are critical. And this surrounds the other 4 S's. You've got to have the right support. You do have to look after number 1. Right? Don't figure it out your bloody self. If you want speed of solution, i.e. you want the outcome to get the outcome quicker, if you want to play a higher game, the biggest key is to join the right groups. Get amongst the right peer groups. Think about it this way. If you make a list of people that really add to your energy, really add value to your life, and they're team A, and people that take it away, team B, right? If you sort into that category, in those categories, and just try to spend more time with team A and less with team B, the impact would be dramatic. I think, and I'm borrowing this phrase from a friend of mine, Daniel Priestley, even though I think he got it from somewhere else. Environment dictates performance. Right? If you surround yourself, loads of research backs up, if you surround yourself with people that overeat, you're going to overeat. If you surround yourself with people that smoke, you're infinitely more likely to smoke. Okay? So, how can you improve your peer group? An ingenious shortcut, which is the big clever sales pitch, right? But it's just true in my experience, is to get into a mastermind group of like-minded peers and get an accountability buddy. Right? I did the maths with a close friend of mine this morning. Over the last 10 years, I've spent a 7-figure sum on my development in different areas of life. I've had a property coach. I've had an M&A coach. I've had all kinds of different business coaches and mastermind groups and training programs, and right? Because I'm always upgrading my skills, and I do that in my personal life as well. So I, guitar lessons. I'm a guitar player and physical training. Right? If you're somebody that wants to grow fast, investment in yourself and your skill sets is the most important thing, I believe, because it'll get you quicker speed to solution. And if you're going to implement, it'll leverage the effort you're putting in. It has a multiplying effect. So, the 5 S's I've just outlined is exactly what I share in with my Success Mastermind group, right? And I'm going to tell you about how to do that. But for clarity, just so you get value regardless, because some of you are not going to be a good fit anyway for the Mastermind program. If we were to work together, I would help you implement more in depth the 5 S's we've just discussed. So it's not in the slide here, but I'll mention it. We track all the financial results of all our businesses, okay? And for me, the metric, when I invest in the program, is what's my return on investment. And in our mastermind programs, the current ROI is between 7 and 8 to 1. What does that mean? In other words, for every £1 somebody's invested with us in our mastermind program, their profits in the same year have increased. The last quarter it was £7.35, I believe, from memory. So in other words, our programs are between eight and £36,000 a year. But if somebody invested £10,000 in our group, and we have numbers for all our people, their profits increased on average by £73,000. Right? Oh, thanks, Arthur. I'm in two minds about whether to share that, Arthur, because it sounds too well, actually, it is self-serving, but I will say it because you did. Yes, all right, I'll go ahead. So Arthur, who's listening in on this webinar, has just said, who's in our mastermind program, says, Success Mastermind is a no-brainer. Everyone serious about growth needs this. Thank you. And Arthur's in our second year with us because they're continuing to make great progress. So, look, the group size is currently capped at 50. And at the moment, we're at 45. Actually, we're at 46 now, I believe, because somebody signed up yesterday. So we're looking to fill up the group and to keep it full. Every quarter, we spend 2 days learning new skills and creating a plan and a budget for the next quarter, right? And the second component part is I have a team of 3 coaches, all of whom skills exceed mine in one particular area, whether it be marketing, whether it be finance, whether it be legal. And we all buddy you up with a coach where you most need the support, right? So one of our coaches has a background, used to work for PricewaterhouseCoopers, right? Another one of our coaches knows more than I do about online marketing. And we'll buddy you up with a coach that we think skills are where you're most needing them. Okay? That's the 2 major component parts of our program. Quarterly 2-day workshop up near my offices here in a hotel in Coventry, and 2 coaching sessions a month. Okay? Every quarter, let's create and craft a plan with you and help you develop it, and really help you work on your strengths so you can make the best of the resources that you've got. Well, you may not have loads of capital. You may not have a massive team. There may be all kinds of problems that are in the way. Okay? Lady I spoke to yesterday, single mum, 2 kids. But she's still built and is successfully running a business that's doing £800,000 a year of revenue and profitable. Okay, great. And she knows she could do more if she if she was willing to spend more time on the business and less with the kids, but that's non-negotiable for her. Okay, good. The question is, how can we get you a better return on your investment? The fact is you're already getting a return. And I strongly suspect if we analyze it correctly, a few small shifts could make a radical impact on the profits and cash flow of your business. Right? And ultimately, you need to be held accountable by a coach. A lot of times we know what to do, we're just not bloody doing it for whatever reason. For me, for example, I'd already built up, made quite a lot of money, but until not that many years ago, I didn't have I had investments in stocks, but I had no investment in property. And I thought investing in property was a good idea, but I'd not done it. And ultimately, I paid a coach. Even though I had a lot of friends who were good property investors, I paid a coach a good chunk of money in order to mentor me through my first few purchases. Because every 2 weeks, I'd get on a call. And for the 13 days before that call, I would do nothing. And then the day before, I'd go into a blind panic and take loads of action. Right? And it helped me make more progress. Okay? He didn't teach me anything radically new, even though he did give me little additional distinctions. But he helped me implement. And now I own, some people would describe it as I've got a property portfolio which has 0 debt, and they're all rented out, and a cash flow property portfolio. That's well, I bought at a discounted price, but so it's got huge equity. But obviously, that's true if you've got no debt. But you get the point. Okay, so look, you want to get a high supporting peer group, guys. Said simply, get a decent caliber peer group. You know, in the Success Mastermind program, the businesses range from low 6 figures all the way up to, at the moment in this program, the highest revenue business is about 14 million. And there's everywhere in between. Most people are, again, mid 6 figures to low 7 figures, but a few people are low 6 figures and a few people are high 7 figures. Okay, get around people that are looking to progress, that have different skill sets. We've got people in the group that are finance directors. We've got people that are got a background in HR, in big corporate, people that are innovators, people that have exited companies, people that have got a lot of tax experience. I don't know exactly what your business needs, but on a bumper sticker, having a high caliber peer group is the best way to have speed for solution. And people are, are you going to go out there and connect to find somebody to solve every problem? No, you're better off paying for speed to access a high quality peer group. Okay. If you want to take this up, just go on over to danbradbury.com/SM. Fill in the application form, and we'll call you to see if you're a good fit. Guys, my team asked me to do this webinar, okay, because I do not run this business. Yes, I'm the MD, and yes, I'm the product, but actually, I'll tell you right now, full disclosure, right? This slide deck was not put together by me. It was reviewed by me because I've got a marketing team that do that for me, right? So, if you go to over to this page, danbradbury.com/SM, fill in an application form, we'll call you. So the point I was making is we don't believe in hard selling our programs because it needs to be a great fit. And speaking frankly, the reason why our average first year return on investment for clients that are with us is £7.35 to 1 at the moment, and obviously it fluctuates up and down a little bit over time. Yes, the program's great, but actually it's because of the caliber of people in the group. We've got very good at understanding who's likely to prosper. Because think about it, why would we want to take somebody into a program who we didn't think is going to succeed? I'm interested in people like Arthur and other people that have been in the program 2, 3, 5 years. Right? I mean this, forgive the slight egotistical nature of this comment. Somebody signing up for this program isn't going to make a massive financial impact to my life. But I am hugely passionate about working with businesses and creating a relationship and helping them grow over many years. Okay? You're welcome. You're welcome, Arthur. I'm a big fan of creating win-win relationships. So we only take people to this program if we think that we could 2, 3, 5 times your profit. And we'll be honest with where we see the opportunities, what we would do and how we would do it, and you can still choose not to work with us. But if you go to this page, fill in the application form, we'll have a chat with you and we'll ask you some questions and we'll tell you whether or not we think you can get a return. And people are surprised when sometimes we say, no, this wouldn't work for you. I turned somebody down yesterday that wanted to pay for the top level program. They wanted to sign up for a £36,000 program and I told them not to do it. Because it's not worth it for the aggravation of them being pissed off if they're not getting an ROI, right? So go and fill in this application. The worst that can happen is we'll tell you that it's not a good fit. If we do think it's a good fit, we'll tell you, and then it's your call about whether or not you want to do it. Here's the point. The point is, I strongly suspect for many of you on this call right now, your business could churn out a significant multiple of the level of profits it's already doing. Or it could go from losing money to making significant money with a few small shifts. Where we can probably add value is in helping identify where those shifts need to be made, and then the specific skill sets around implementing those core shifts. So, I think I need to remember, do I have additional slides on this slide deck? No, that's the last slide. So, guys, what are your questions? Tell me, if you're still here, and wow, there's loads of people still here. Hi, Stuart. Hi, Simon. Hi, Richard. Hi, Roger. Hi, Lawrence. Hi, Lorraine. Hi, Nigel. Hi, Nigel. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Philippa. Hi, I'm going to try Bagvuns. Bagvuns. I hope I pronounced your name, Bagvuns. If I didn't, tell me how to pronounce it, and I'll correct myself. Hi, Hassan. Hi, Jacqueline. Hi, Jill. Right? What questions do you have? And by the way, it doesn't have to be about the mastermind program. It can just be about how to grow your business. Look, I'm passionate about developing and investing businesses, whether that's because somebody pays us and we help them through our group coaching program and the Part of Success Mastermind, or whether I buy a business and invest it and grow it and I get the upside. I don't mind which it is. I'm passionate about helping businesses get over this gap. to go from basically being self-employed with a high-paying job to running a proper business. You're all still on here, but you're not asking me many questions. What questions do you have? Victoria, Veronica, Zara, Trevor, Stuart, what questions do you have? Okay, thank you. A couple of people have been over to the page and filled in the form. Great. Go on over to danbradbury.com now. If you don't have a question, go over to danbradbury.com/SM, which is an ingeniously abbreviated acronym for Success Mastermind. danbradbury.com/SM. Read a summary of the info and fill in the application form. And then let's get on the phone with you, right? And then let's get on the phone with you and talk to you about it. Guys, you're all still here. What questions do you have? So Donald's got a question. You're welcome, Jacqueline. Donald's got a question. I've been taking screenshots of the slides, but missed a couple of them as the printer was too slow. You're printing each page manually. Is the recording to be made available? So, Donald, I don't actually know. One of my team will probably pipe up and let me know in a second, because I'm just doing what I've told, i.e. they put together the slide deck. Obviously, I've reviewed it, and it is our approach internally of what we do here, but I don't actually know whether they plan to make a recording available or not. But I'm sure they'll pipe up in a second, because one of my team is listening into this call, and they'll let me know if we're going to make the recording available. So I don't want to tell you it is when it isn't. Thank you. Trevor said, is six-figure revenue still the threshold to make this worthwhile? Okay, so Trevor, I'm not trying to be evasive, but it depends. Our experience is we don't work with businesses that aren't six figures. In fact, generally speaking, we don't work with businesses that are less than $250,000 in revenue. We have, however, in the 46 people that are in the program at the moment, there's 3 that I can think of that are below that 250 threshold. The reason why we don't accept them, it's not truthfully, Trevor, about the revenue. It's about how good the business is, right? And if the business is really good, if it's only got, 80 grand of revenue, would we take it? The answer is yeah, we probably would, right? But the reason why the business isn't at 250 revenue in most cases is because the business isn't that good. For example, we got somebody in our program right now who actually we're coaching him on what is in effect a startup. So you say, well, why would you do that? Well, the fact is, he's got a extremely profitable, 2 extremely profitable businesses, and he's a very wealthy individual, okay? And he's got a lot of capital to invest in the startup, and I know the space that he's doing the startup in. I've got a lot of experience in the space, and his idea is really good, and he's well funded. So he's one of that handful of people that don't meet they've not got this much revenue. So Trevor, if in doubt, go to the page, fill in the application form, and we'll speak to you. But our experience, the general rule of thumb is, if it's not even a proven business concept, it's too painful to make it work, and we want you to get a return on investment. If you've got a proven business concept, and you're already driving revenues, it's much easier for us to give you little tweaks to give you a significant return on your investments. So that answers your question, or I've got loads of questions now. Lorraine. All right, so keep going with the questions. So Donald, yes, this has been recorded, and I believe my team will distribute the recordings later. Send in the team an email. Don't tell me because I'll forget, but it should get sent to you automatically. Okay, Donald? Lorraine said, what if you had your worst financial year ever and cash flow currently so bad? Know you need help, but no idea how to finance that. Great. Again, it depends on context, Lorraine. A lot of the acquisitions that I do, and I'm not suggesting that I buy a business, I'm saying it to illustrate the point, are distressed. In other words, I do turnarounds, right? Because as long as the business has revenue, even if it's making a significant loss, something's working for that business. Otherwise, it wouldn't have any revenue, right? And ironically, the more revenue it's got, the easier generally the problem is to solve. But it's a relatively complex situation. It often involves tax. So the short version, Lorraine, is I don't know. I could name you a dozen ways of how to finance it. Whether or not you should is another matter. So Lorraine, my direct question to you would be: what were your revenues, and how much did you lose last year? If you assume you made a loss, and if you're comfortable, tell me how much you got in the bank. I won't say it out loud now, and then I'd better be able to say whether or not we might be able to help you. But actually, Lorraine, I'd say great. Go to the page, fill in the form, and if we don't think we can remotely help you, we'll just tell you, so we won't waste your time. But if you want the super speed version now, Lorraine, just type me the question. Only I can see them. What was your revenue last year? Okay, as a starting point. Okay, let me go through the questions. So that's one's answered. That one's been answered. All right. What's the minimum term? Great, Kevin. It's a year. It's a year. So when you're committing to a year. Because my experience, if people aren't prepared to commit to a year, they're basically flaky. I'd rather you be convinced enough to commit to a year. Oftentimes, people get a return within months, but sometimes, depending on the nature of the business, it can take longer. And I don't want people to be half in, half out. Give us a year to see a notable improvement would be my attitude. And if they're not prepared to take that risk, you're not suitable for the program. Hope that answers the question, Kevin. Okay, thank you. Good. All right, so I've answered quite a few questions. Still, only about 20% of people have dropped off the webinar. I've still got multiple dozens of people on the webinar. So if you're still here, either go to the page and fill in the application, or read the information there, watch the video, fill in the information at danbradbury.com/SM, or pipe up with a question, or I'm just going to end the webinar and go and have my lunch. So, Adam, comments, David. All right, good. So I've got one here. Okay. All right. So I'm reading some of these data. Okay, good. So Lorraine, I said I wouldn't read it out, so I won't. But I would, given what you just said, yes. I think it's worth you filling in the application form. In other words, if it was a no, I didn't think that there was a chance we could help, I would just tell you. I don't know that we can, but given the numbers, the couple of different numbers you gave me there, I think it's worth us having a conversation, Lorraine, to see if we can help you. So get stuck in, Lorraine, fill it in, and we'll be honest and transparent. We won't BS you. We'll even be trying to be transparent for the length of time it'll take for an ROI, that kind of stuff, because it might take longer if your business has just had a rough year. But we'll be honest, and then you can assess it, and we can talk about finance if that's required in order to do it, etc. So go on over, Lorraine, and fill it in. Okay. Great. It's funny. Emma, who's one of our mastermind members, is on and saying, "Great webinar, enjoy your lunch, guys." I'm happy for you, you and Arthur, to sign up again if you want to. But we're covering the stuff that we teach you every time. I guess you just can't get. My ego says you just can't get enough. I enjoyed having lunch with you, Emma and Arthur. Good. No, thank you, Lorraine. You're right, Arthur. It is always good to have a refresher. Thank you, Trevor. Perfect. So, all right, guys. How am I doing for time? Check me out. I was pretty close to time. So I'm going to call you out by name now and basically tell you to ask me questions or go away. So thank you, Zara. Adam, ask a question. David, ask a question. Yeah, good. Thanks, Arthur. Donald, ask a question. Hassan, ask a question. Jay, ask a question. Oh, Jay's gone. Jill, ask a question. Lawrence, ask a question. Philippa, ask a question. Richard, I want to use surnames, but that would be inappropriate. Data protection. So Roger, ask a question. Simo, ask a question. Stuart, ask a question. Veronica, ask a question. Okay, we're whittling you down now. Okay, good. So I'll recap with a closing thought, and if no questions have come up by the end of that, we will end the webinar at this point. One of my team that's lobbying me to invest in building a new website for one of my businesses has just said, "Can I have a new website, please?" And the answer to that individual is, you know what I've asked for in order for me to sign off on the investments. as far as I'm concerned, the ball's in your court. I want to say yes, but I don't currently feel I've got enough data to say yes to. Yeah, thank you. So here's my summary, and if there's no more questions, I'll then wrap the webinar. So pull your finger out and ask a question if you've got one. Guys, I don't know your business, but if you go to the page and fill in the questions, we will assess your business and tell you how we would approach it. We look for businesses that have got certain things in place that are already good, but yet they're failing to make the profit they deserve. And we've got skills around the 5 S's we spoke about, around the scorecards, around the systems, around the support, etc. We're really good at these things, and if that's the thing that can make the difference between you doing 50 grand in profit and 250 grand in profit or whatever, great. We've got a program. We don't guarantee get rich quick. We don't guarantee any result, in fact, for full clarity, but we say look at our track record, speak to any of our members, and you'll see that on average it's a 7.35 to 1 ROI first year. Some much higher, some less. But actually, you know what? I would be comfortable for anybody who was considering applying to speak to any one of the people in the group. I could give you a list and say, pick a name at random and call them. And I believe they would say to you, yes, absolutely, you should do this, given if your business is the right fit. Right? So ultimately, what are you waiting for? In fact, you guys are all still here. What are you waiting for? Go on over, fill in the application form, and let's have a chat. Right? Ultimately, we'll assess and tell you whether or not we think this would work for you. And if we say we think it would work for you, great. At that point, you then get to assess and decide whether or not you want to work with us. And the only way we're going to work together, Veronica, the only way we're going to work together is if you think it's a good idea and we think it's a good idea. Great. In that case, let's do it. And we can talk through the details. Okay? All right, Richard? All right, Roger? Good. All right, so I've had no more questions, so I'm going to wrap the webinar at this point. Thank you, guys. Get on over to danbradbury.com/SM right now to find out more information. Hope you got value from this webinar either way. Thank you for the nice comments. Hope you got tremendous value either way. And if this program is not right for you, great. Stay posted. I'm sure we'll continue to drip out content to the list in the future. And hope we can help you with your business. Bye for now.